Hi, welcome to What Box. I wanted to do a video today about a memory aid for people with disabilities that affect their memory. This is a problem that I suffer from ever since just a little after age 5. There's various reasons for it and various possible reasons for it. But it has just kind of gotten worse over the years. So I will try to do a task. It could be just getting ready for bed or getting up in the morning, something simple as fixing breakfast or taking a shower, and I make a lot of mistakes. The normal person might make 1 or 2 mistakes at a task. I will make multiple mistakes at a task, and it always takes me a great deal longer to do something than another person. And for that reason, I'm not able to work. No employer would have me. And it's not something that can be corrected or fixed in any way. So I learned to just live with it because, and like do things like this to help myself get through it, because the frustration that I experience from making the same mistakes over and over again and not being able to fix it or cure myself it leads to worsening depression and a lot of self anger, to put it mildly. So I want to also share, what it's like to have a disability, what it feels like to me when it feels like on one side of my brain I know how to do a thing, but actually doing it, it feels like I'm a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old or even a 2-year-old, and my hands, the part of my brain that operates the doing of the task, I guess it got damaged at a very early age and can't function better than that. So it's really frustrating when you have this adult expectation, but the ability of a child. And friends have said it's something like people who have a stroke, and they're having to relearn how to do things all over again. But anyway, this is a little book that I started. I put it together from scratch, and I just kind of like laid out my day, what I needed. They're pretty much randomly spelled out here. And I found difficulty with this list because I found that even though I had everything written down and I could follow it and knock it off one after the other, I was failing to read, failing to notice, and just like a 5-year-old, can't pay attention to the detail under task, I was ending up leaving my bedroom and entering the kitchen and having to go back and retrieve a bunch of things all throughout the day, or redo something that I failed to do. So I found that this simplified version of task management was just too hard for me. And if you're looking at it and you don't have a disability, then you're going to see that if this is too hard for me to follow, I seriously have a disability. So, while there are some things in this I've been successful at following the instructions. There are a couple things I've had to stop and work on. Let me just grab a book. This one's a little less personal. So like, I had to simplify my going to bed steps down to one thing per page and follow it in the order that it had to be done, rather than trying to trust myself to be able to jump around a page and remember, okay, I did this or I did that, and move on to the next thing until I have gotten them all done. That wasn't possible for me. I get confused and I'll think that I did something when I hadn't, and it's just extremely frustrating. If I had, well, let's say when I have to leave the house, and I have left things out like that, then I'm out for the day or out of town and cannot go back and change that. So if I left something on or something, is just too bad. So anyways, simple things like before I'm going to bed, I'll start with putting my leftovers away, fill my water bottle, oven light off, and that means the one that's above it and the one inside the actual oven, so the stove light and the oven light. And I have to like write things so that they're visually understandable to myself, sort of like you would for a 5-year-old. I have little dogs, so I have to check their potty box before we go to bed. Otherwise, I wake up to something smelly. And we call it one more time, so I give them treats. And just so on, like this. So in between the breaks of like all the the steps in common, then I'll put a sticky tab here to show me that that set of tasks, subtasks, are done, and that I'm shifting mental gears to a different set of tasks. And so these would be things, closing the windows. I'm going to make a quick check for an appointment tomorrow, and then I'm checking mental gears. And this is completely custom. This might not make sense to the average person, why I'm shifting between curtains and checking for appointments, but it has to do with where I'm standing in the room. And so these are considerations that should be taken into consideration while you're working with the person who has this disability, so that you can custom make their book for them according to their specific mental process. So then I go through another set, and it's gathering devices, the water bottle that I filled, my robe or sweater, whatever I was wearing for the day, slippers and shoes, just things. Get my girls are my doggies, my little girls' things, and miscellaneous, So now I have 2 sets of glasses, and I like to leave one downstairs and one upstairs. This way I don't forget and have to go and retrieve one that I forgot down or up. So that helps. Making sure all my machines, like sewing machines or whatever little gadgets I've used, and my lights are off. And then, so now I'm going to the second level, which is a downstairs level. That's what I call it. So you have to custom word it for this person who has a disability also. It has to make sense to them. And if they're dealing with an issue like mine where their task ability is at the level of a 5-year-old or some certain age level, then you need to make sure that you're wording it in a way that their age level will be able to understand, and include pictures if they need visual cues. So this just goes on, but what I want to show you and want you to get the sense of is how to make a book, a step-by-step book for tasks for a person who has memory issues or learning issues, where their learning ability, or like mine, is not tutorable, it's not fixable, it's actual damage. So, so that you can help them make a book for them that, they can just flip the page. You might have to bring it down to this level so that they can have success in their life, because a person without this sort of a disability can just go through life not making these mistakes. I've always made a lot of mistakes, but I've never been to this degree where I make, innumerable and compound mistakes. Like if I turn the water on too hard and it splashes and then it startles me, I strike a couple of things with my elbows by accident, knocking, spilling, and then I may slip on the spill, or while trying to clean it up, spill another thing. Or I've had like a 4-hour make a cake ordeal, forgetting the oil, putting the eggs in the pan instead of in the bowl. I recently poured my dog's food into the garbage can. I mean, I'm really like declining and I'm at like on some tasks like a 2-year-old, and I find myself frustrated with myself and scolding myself and forgetting that I'm not dealing with an adult capability. I'm dealing with a child capability, and I should treat myself with love and tenderness and mercy. And I don't. I get so frustrated from the innumerous number of inconveniences that I'm just on edge. I'm on edge, like with a kid that has like really bad temperament issues, like one of those children that's like climbing up the walls and pulling your curtains off and, knocking over the bookcases and breaking your china. I'm just at that level of frustration, and it's day in and day out. I mean, I go to bed with it, I wake up to it, it's terrible. I can't do a simple task without having major inconveniences piled on top of each other. So these little books, they don't prevent 100%. I can accidentally get 2 pages stuck together. I'd like to get it where they're tabbed and I can flip them easily. That would be ideal. But it has saved me a little better from having to go back down and retrieve or tend to something that I have forgotten. And I'm sure you can see from the way that I'm able to speak that it's very confusing to people that I would have a disability that would cause me to be at a level of, between 2 and 5 years old. But it's strictly with tasks that have steps to them. And that's why I'm doing this video on the fly, because there are no steps. I can't read and follow a list of things to say or show or do or demonstrate. I will really mess up. So I have, it goes on for, like, for my morning, and, you know, it tells me absolutely everything that I have to do, as much as I need it to, you know. And then I also put one together for getting ready for a shower and for getting out of the shower. Things like, you know, remembering my clothing, oil your feet, put your flip-flops on, you know. Just, this is a little more personal because it talks about my undergarments, which I don't care to share my business, but you might have to go to that extent where you're making a book for this, a book for that, a book for something else, for them. And I even have in my books, like, one of my last things I say to myself, put this book back in your bag right now and turn it to the go to bed page. And so, you know, it's not, if you create a book for somebody like this and help them do it, don't hold them to expectations that now you've done this book and spent all that time helping them and now they're going to be fixed. I want you to hear me at the loudest volume, despite what my voice volume is. There is no prosthetic for a brain. I don't care if you are unable to talk and you're using a computer because you're paralyzed or whatever. That's not the same thing. If you're under some kind of, like, extreme insurance privilege and you get to have some machine that helps you communicate, that's amazing. But it's not a typical situation, and most people who can't walk will get a wheelchair. But people that have difficulty thinking and processing don't have any prosthetic whatsoever. Even a person who has seizures wears a helmet. But a helmet doesn't do any good for a person who can't access the parts of the brain that tell it what to do and how to do things. So when you make a book like this for someone, it's only a help. It's not a prevention, and I don't want them to have to suffer the discouragement of having their hopes set up high that this is going to save them, and then have to face your discouragement because it didn't fix them. Nothing is going to fix them. So, you know, please only take the time to make books like this for people if you have the wherewithal and the heart full of love to be able to let them do their best with it and not have any expectations that they're going to let you down with. And that would really hurt them more than you. So don't do it for yourself. Do it for them. Anyway, I hope that this video has been helpful to somebody. This is something I've kind of self-invented, and it's been already helping me a good deal. I still have trouble remembering bringing my books. You know, I have to have my brain triggered to remember somehow, to remember to rely on these books. I don't have any, like, attentive family or friends that are capable of helping me to remember things throughout the day. I'm pretty much living a need for assisted living without assisted living, and it's extremely difficult and sometimes risky to myself and others. So my heart goes out to you if you have a loved one that suffers from these things. I know it's challenging, and it can be very heavy. But if you love them, take the time to make these books for them. See if they help them. No strings attached, and just let them learn. And you might have to revise them to, like, you realize, like I did with this other book, that it was just too difficult for me, as well-intentioned and as simple as it is. I had to go even further. And now, because of the thickness, they're not in this book anymore. It's a step outside. And it's almost like a Braille book. Braille, the books are very thick, and more than a regular book. So I'm burdened with having to manage my tools, carrying a tool bag around with me so I can access these things, and triggering myself to remember to do so somehow. And I throw things away accidentally because I dissociate, which is an unfortunate side effect of child abuse that, unfortunately for me, has gotten worse with time and not better. People say that, things get better with time. That's not the truth, not the whole truth anyway. And I have just managed to get worse. And so I throw, like a few days ago, I threw my E6000 in the garbage. It's a glue. And I needed it. It was brand new and full, and on my income, I don't really have money readily available to be able to replace things if I throw them away. I got in trouble, kind of got in trouble like 3 times this week at stores because I dissociated, and one of the clerks asked me, or the cashier asked me, aren't you buying anything? And I had to kind of explain myself in front of customers, so I'm getting to the point where I want to go in straight away to security and tell them I dissociate. If anybody reports anything, I'm doing anything weird, don't be alarmed. If you feel worried that I've stolen anything, you're welcome to check my bag on my way out. Because maybe if I dissociated, I did do something and I don't even know about it, but I'm not a thief. It's not something that I believe is the right thing or an okay thing for my conscience. And so I might throw something away or walk into the bathroom with it. As a child, I was always like walking in the men's room accidentally, or walking into glass doors and windows. Just, it's difficult. So I just wanted to encourage people out there how one kind of a way to tackle this sort of a problem, or maybe you can use this in your own way. It'll strike something in your mind of a way that you can use it in a similar way for a similar problem that you're dealing with, or someone that you love is dealing with. So anyway, this video goes out with a full heart of love and compassion for others, and I hope that it finds you well. If you find this video useful, I am working to grow my channel, to develop it to something that is really worthwhile for people, and feel free to like and subscribe. I have a lot of projects to be uploading, and I like to get straight to the point and try not to waste people's time. So feel free to leave a comment how you either enjoyed it or found use for the idea, or share your own ideas, improvement ideas, or application ideas, in your comment. And this video is dedicated to you, to, helping others, and thanks for being tolerant, loving, and understanding toward people like me. So with that, we close the video.